Tomorrow, something will show up that looks wrong at first glance. An offer framed in bad lighting, a proposal that scrapes at your instincts, a message that makes your chest tighten, and your first thought is to refuse. That reflexive no is the easy thing to do. The courageous move, and the one that can redirect your year, is to pause, to see the awkwardness for what it often is, a doorway dressed in the wrong clothes. If you hold, adjust, and lean into a careful yes, this wrong-looking offer can become your biggest breakthrough. If you want timely transit guidance like this, tap subscribe now. I'll walk you through the pattern so you don't miss the chance to turn discomfort into momentum. You've been in the middle of a short, sharp sequence in the sky. On January 29th, Mercury met Venus, a flirtation of ideas and attraction, a moment where your mind and your values found a compelling alignment. It felt magnetic. A concept looked shiny. A person sounded persuasive. The possibilities tasted attractive. Then, on January 30th, Mercury forms a quincunx to Jupiter in Cancer. And that's where the twist lands. Jupiter in Cancer is retrograde right now, turning inward on questions of safety, shared resources, and emotional values. Mercury in Aquarius speaks in brisk modern thinking, in what-if futures and structural possibilities. When those two planets are in quincunx, they're not arguing. They barely speak the same language. That mismatch often creates a blind spot. Something that felt right yesterday can feel wrong today. Let me translate the astrology into plain terms. A quincunx is an angle of about 150 degrees. It links two planets whose vocabularies don't line up. It's a cosmic miscommunication. One planet asks, "What could this become?" while the other asks, "Will this keep me safe?" When those questions pull in different directions, your brain can freeze or swing to oversimplified answers, usually a reflexive rejection. That feeling that this isn't for me is often not the universe telling you to flee. It's the sky forcing you to consider how two different needs can be reconciled. The operative word here is adjustment. Think of it like trying on new glasses with the wrong prescription. At first the frame looks weird, the world is slightly off, and you want to take them off. But what if you don't toss them? What if you give your eyes a minute and then ask the optician to tweak the lens? Suddenly the world snaps into a new clarity you didn't expect. Or imagine a birth metaphor, discomfort as contraction. It hurts, it feels wrong, but it's not failure. It's a biological pressure that reshapes what's coming. A quincunx often performs that exact pressure. It contracts, demands refinement, and when you lean into adjustment rather than binary rejection, allows something new to be born with more structure. Let's make this concrete with the signs in the epicenter. If you're a Cancer, this is intimate and material. Jupiter in Cancer is asking, will this protect the nest? So an offer that arrives may land feeling transactional, cold, or exposed. Maybe someone proposes a partnership that involves shared accounts, or a job that looks efficient but feels emotionally brittle. Your instinct is to pull back because your internal security system is activated. The adjustment here is to preserve safety with structure. Negotiate safeguards, set phased commitments, specify exit clauses, and ask for transparent resource flows. Think of this as building a safety net underneath the leap instead of denying the leap entirely. If you're an Aquarius, Mercury in your sign lights the fireworks, but the quincunx to Jupiter in Cancer can hit where you're stretched thin. The offer may ask you to give time you don't have, to commit in ways that threaten ongoing projects or routines. Your no may be loud because you're protective of the future you're engineering. The move that turns this wrong feeling into a breakthrough is optimization. Refuse the parts that steal your focus and accept the kernel that expands your reach. Delegate, automate, or restructure the ask into smaller, modular pieces that slot into your architecture rather than wreck it. An optimized yes can scale your original idea without sacrificing core bandwidth. If you're a Gemini, your mind is already buzzing from the Mercury-Venus attraction. The quincunx to Jupiter suggests a cost that feels steep or misaligned with your immediate values. The offer might look expensive in time, money, or emotional labor, even though it feeds your curiosity and learning. The adjustment for you is calibrated investment, stage the commitment, define measurable learning milestones, and preserve resaleable assets. Treat the offer like a pilot program. Commit a slice, not the whole loaf, and keep metrics so you can prove whether the intellectual expansion justifies the cost. These three are in the epicenter, but everyone may feel the nudge. Across signs, the same pattern repeats. Something attractive arrives, then something feels wrong, and clarity usually comes after a short pause. That pause is the single most powerful tactical rule I want you to remember. Do not decide on January 30th. Use the 48-hour rule. Sit with the discomfort for 2 days. Let perspective form. Wait until February 1 to 2, when lunar movement and the cognitive rebalancing will give you a clearer picture. In practice, that means no signing on the dotted line, no finalizing transactions, and no definitive no declared in a way that closes the door forever. This is not indecision. This is strategic delay. How do you use those 48 hours productively? First, label what you feel. Name the sensations: fear, confusion, excitement, relief. When you can put a label on the noise, you start to separate instinct from information. Second, run a simple mitigation test. What's the worst reasonable outcome if you said yes now? Who would you call if the thing goes sideways? What would you need to protect quickly? Listing the practical contingencies diffuses the all-or-nothing trap the quincunx tends to produce. Third, invite a trusted outside perspective, a friend who knows your work, a coach, or someone who won't be seduced by the initial shine. That second pair of eyes often spots the small adjustment that transforms a precarious acceptance into a structured opportunity. Let me give you 3 short, vivid examples so you can see exactly how adjustment plays out. Example 1, job offer. Imagine you receive an invitation for a promising role that pays well and opens doors, but it requires 2 full days in the office and inflexible hours that collide with family mornings. Your immediate reaction is to decline to preserve routines. Instead, use adjustment. Ask for a trial period with hybrid days, or negotiate a 3-month pilot with specific deliverables. Propose technology-enabled check-ins that preserve presence without sacrificing productivity. You're not conceding on values. You're creating a framework that protects them. If the employer resists structured safeguards, you've also learned something crucial about their culture. That's information, not failure. Example 2, an investment or partnership opportunity. Something arrives that dovetails with your long-term vision but involves pooling resources or an upfront commitment you're hesitant to make. Don't acquiesce blindly, and don't wall it off entirely. Build a staged contribution, a small emergency fund first, then scheduled deposits tied to milestones, or a convertible agreement that protects you if conditions change. Again, this is not financial advice. Do your due diligence and consult a professional where needed. But it is a practical template. Phased commitment reduces the emotional heat and creates performance-based checkpoints. Example 3, a creative project. A collaborator offers you a role that would accelerate the project, but asks you to take on administrative and promotional tasks that crush your creative time. Instead of rejecting the offer because it feels draining, negotiate the job description. Delegate the admin to a junior partner, hire a virtual assistant to shield your calendar, or accept a smaller creative contribution with the option to scale it if results justify more time. What looks wrong at first, the heavy lift, can become structural scaffolding for a larger creative breakthrough if you refuse the burden and negotiate the role. The common thread in each example is the same: adjustment as a third way between immediate acceptance and flat refusal. You're not gambling everything or walling everything off. You're making space for integration. That's what the sky is asking during this quincunx, to create a form that honors both the future-oriented logic of Mercury in Aquarius and the security-driven values of Jupiter in Cancer. Now let's zoom out for a moment. The sky this season is more than a random week of friction. Neptune's recent ingress into Aries and the shifts of the outer planets are changing the generational rhythm. Neptune in Aries loosens old maps and invites pioneering imagination, but it also adds a fog to new starts. You can feel called to take unique action while lacking a clear, conventional map. That fog amplifies the stakes of early offers. The first options that arrive in shifting terrain tend to be awkward, half-formed, or dressed in outdated language. Accepting a raw offer early can place you ahead of a new timeline if you shape it, but it can also lock you into obsolete structures if you don't apply the adjustment filter. The strategy isn't to rush, it's to be a sculptor. Take the rough stone, chisel deliberately, and create new architecture rather than accepting the statue as is or smashing the block in frustration. Because Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer right now, shared resources, emotional values, and family concerns are on the review table. Retrogrades invite re-evaluation. An offer that appears wrong is often a mirror. It shows you where you're misaligned with your safety architecture or how your value system needs reconfiguration. If you can make a small structural shift, a contract clause, a phased timeline, a technology fix, you're converting a stumble into long-term advantage. Because Neptune's energy is pushing toward new forms, those who learn to negotiate early awkwardness will likely find themselves in positions to define the new standard rather than adapt to other people's defaults. All of this requires an internal upgrade. Your internal voice must become a better advisor. Right now you've got two competing inner speakers, one rooted in fear and protection, the other eager, curious, and future-focused. The quincunx makes them shout over each other. The trick is to teach yourself to listen differently. First, distinguish fear from intuition. Fear often repeats catastrophic loops and imagines absolute endings. If I say yes, I'll lose everything. Intuition is quieter. It brings a focused signal. This could lead to X if shaped this way. Use quick tests to separate them. Time test your reaction. Does it soften in 48 hours? Evidence test your thought. What facts support the catastrophic scenario? And resource test your plan. What safeguards can you put in place? Second, reframe discomfort as a structural prompt. When tightness shows up, ask, what adjustment would make this safe? This reframes pain from an enemy into a tool. Third, write out a 2-day checklist you can use during the 48-hour rule. Clarify pros and cons, outline mitigations, identify an adjustable term you can negotiate, pick one metric you can measure if you accept, and choose one friend to consult. The checklist turns abstract anxiety into an operational plan. Ask yourself the key, clarifying question. What would I do if I knew this discomfort was temporary, but the opportunity was permanent? That single question reframes urgency into stewardship. It forces you to treat the offer like something that can be shaped over time, rather than a one-shot test of your worthiness. If the answer contains a practical adjustment, a clause, a stage schedule, a protected creative hour, you've found your pathway forward. Let me return to the idea of glasses because I want this image to stick. The quincunx hands you a new frame that doesn't fit yet. You can rip it off and stomp back into familiar sight. Or you can sit with the frame, ask for a lens tweak, and give your eyes permission to adjust. The latter is how breakthroughs usually begin. They look wrong at first because they're not yet calibrated to your life. Calibration is not capitulation. Negotiation is not a compromise of your values. It's an act of intelligent preservation that allows expansion. Here are 3 precise, repeatable adjustments you can use tomorrow if the wrong-looking offer arrives. 1. Structure the acceptance. Propose a pilot, a probationary period, or measurable milestones. This reduces the binary pressure and creates checkpoints that protect you and prove value. A 3-month pilot with explicit delivery dates shifts the dynamic from all-in trust to measured collaboration. 2. Stage the investment. Commit in tranches rather than a lump sum. Whether that's time, money, or reputation, fractionating your exposure lets you test the waters while preserving your core. Arrange automatic reviews tied to performance metrics before the next tranche releases. 3. Delegate and automate. Find what about the offer will drain your time and either remove it from your plate or automate it. If the proposal asks for frequent administrative chores, hire a junior or use a tool to manage it. Protect the precious part of your work and offer a structural fix for the rest. When you propose these adjustments, frame them as mutual protections, not distrust. Language matters. Say, "I'm excited about this. Can we test it with a 3-month pilot and defined goals?" rather than, "I don't trust this." You give the other side clarity and shared security, which often increases buy-in. The quincunx will test your ability to offer elegant compromises. I want to be clear about limits. None of this is a promise that every wrong-feeling offer will bloom into a career-defining move. Astrology is not deterministic. These patterns often appear as signals and opportunities, but outcome depends on choices, on your due diligence, your negotiating clarity, and the factual soundness of the offer. When money or legal terms are involved, do the homework or consult a professional. Consider this strategic architecture, not financial counsel. So how do you act tomorrow? Here's a compact decision architecture you can put in your pocket. Pause. Don't sign or refuse on the day the discomfort hits. Label. Name the emotion. Give it a folder. Assess. List realistic worst-case scenarios and the protections you'd need. Adjust. Identify one structural tweak that preserves your values. Pilot. Propose a limited, measurable test instead of a full commitment. Consult. Bring in one objective, trusted perspective. Revisit. Check back after 48 hours when the sky offers clearer light on Feb 1-2. If you do this, you shift from living reactively to designing deliberately. You convert the quincunx's pressure into a sculptor's tool. That's the core promise behind the title. The wrong offer tomorrow is actually your biggest breakthrough if you treat it as raw material and apply the adjustment pattern. Before I close, remember the broader rhythm. The generational currents are changing, and early offers during these thresholds often arrive unformed. That's not a bug. It's the season asking you to be a framer of new systems. If you can learn to propose the guardrails and measure the results, you position yourself to set the standard rather than be swept by defaults. Being early means being awkward sometimes. Being wise means channeling the awkwardness into structure. So when the wrong-looking offer lands tomorrow, don't reflexively say no. Sit with the tension, ask the clarifying question. What adjustment makes this safe? And use the 48-hour rule to let perspective settle. Negotiate a pilot, stage your commitment, or carve out delegated space. 2 days from now, you'll probably see a cleaner path, and if you've built in adjustment, that path can open into a real breakthrough. Share what you get tomorrow in the comments. I read them, and I learned from your stories. If this kind of transit strategy helps you, subscribe for more timely guidance and decision architecture tied to the sky. Sit with the discomfort, wait 48 hours, find the adjustment, and give the wrong-looking offer the chance to become your next level.